Ooh, this is gonna rustle some jimmies, I think. I saw the new 2025 M1000RR. I was not impressed. Also, I have a problem with this bike. I had an entire spiel planned out to talk about right now, and I just started looking at this thing and my mind went blank. We'll do it live. Let's get to it. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome. This is Ellie, 2024 M1000RR, and I'm a talking guy on a motorcycle. And today I want to talk about the 2025 M1000RR. I saw it the other day, last night actually. Talked with Nate Kern, and I've got some thoughts, I've got some opinions, and a little disclaimer. This isn't a commentary or anything negative or an opinion on Nate Kern or any of the BMW reps or any of those guys. And another part of the disclaimer, if you like this bike, the 2025, I'm not saying you're wrong. That's the cool thing about motorcycles is we can have different opinions, specifically on the aesthetics. That if it really floats your boat, man, like that's awesome. You know, like I'm not here to tell anybody that they're just wrong. Okay. So now that we have that out of the way, let's get into it. And I also asked some questions that I think a lot of you will be interested in if you have this bike and some previous years, because some of the stuff on that new bike is really cool. So let's start with the stuff that I like. It's a short list, so don't worry, we won't be here long. One of the first things is that quick throttle, the short throw throttle. That thing's a little bit of a game changer. I did that compared to this bike, and immediately my first question that I asked was, can I put this on my bike? And the answer was yes. It was kind of like a tentative yes, right? That it should work, but you'll need to adjust the tune in some way or another. So I'm really hoping once all this stuff really gets in the wild that BT Moto will get a hold of it, and we can add that into this bike. That's something I'm really looking forward to. Honestly, that's about all I liked about that bike. So one of my big things with the new bike, and I feel like this is valid, it's not all to do with the aesthetic, right? Like some of this ties into it, but really it just comes down to the value. So like a premium spec S1K is $28,000, right? The M1K, this bike, is a $40,000 bike, give or take. The new one I think is going to be a little more, you know, inflation, fact of life. I don't like it, but it is what it is. That'll be the reason anyway. But, so my big question was, there's a $12,000 difference, you know, between these motorcycles. And so what does that $12,000 get me? And so when I look at this bike and I start kind of going through it and thinking about it, like, you don't have to spend much time looking at Ilmberger carbon and that sort of stuff to see, like, it adds up pretty quick, right? Like, there's a lot of carbon on this bike. There's some internal engine stuff. Like, you know, you're paying also on top of that, you're paying the BMW tax, and then you're paying a special BMW tax, right? So, but it's not too difficult to figure out where that $12,000 went in difference in price, okay? So I asked basically that same question on this new bike is what am I getting for that initial $12,000, because they've ditched 60-70% of the carbon, so that's not there, which is a big chunk of the money, at least on this bike. And so just, you know, what am I getting? And he answered, but it's just not, it's not mathing for me. And what he said was, you're getting more titanium internals in the engine. You're getting the updated features on that bike, whether that's like the quick throttle, it has slide control now. And something that surprised me is, and I'm blanking out on what it's called, I'm sorry guys, but it's the piece that pivots on top of the rear shock. That's different on the new bike, and what he told me is that it's going to be more suited for the racetrack. which, and I'm not dinging BMW for this, it's just an interesting choice to me that they're going even more track oriented with this bike, which it's fine, it's a race bike, but most of the people, in my opinion, that buy this motorcycle, the vast majority, it's rarely, if ever, going to see the track. I think most of these are on the street, that's where they're going to live. And so like I own a V4R, so like I'm not someone who's going to come in here and be like, oh, they made a track bike, oh, bad BMW. No. But with that V4R, I would argue that a vast majority of those are seeing the track at some point. So it's kind of a different end user base. So anyway, I'm not saying that is a positive or negative. I'm just saying that is kind of interesting side note, right? But so this bike, missing a lot of the carbon, and I think a lot of this could be fixed in a lot of ways. You know, if they had done the whole bike in matte carbon, I would have a different opinion of it, aesthetically. You know, and something with the BMW matte carbon, I don't really care for the look of it. You know, it just looks like plastic to me, especially if you get like 10 feet away. It just doesn't do it for me. And, you know, something with the black paint that they used on it, and this is something to do with cars and bikes and just a lot of different things, that some stuff, the black looks absolutely amazing. And other stuff, in my opinion, it kind of hides the lines of the vehicle. And in the case of this new RR, I think it really hides the lines. Like, had they done the whole thing in that matte carbon, it's more gray. I think it would show the lines of that bike a lot better, but the gloss black with the matte carbon, it's just not the same, right? And another thing was, this is BMW's flagship bike, right? You would think, like, if you look at this bike that I'm on, you can tell a lot of thought went into it, and how it looks, and how everything kind of flows and jives together. And with this new one, it's, you know, they used the same gloss carbon wheels. So you kind of have this weird mix of stuff going on, where, you know, you have gloss carbon wheels, matte carbon, and then gloss black. And so a friend of mine put it really well. He said it kind of looks like they just went into the parts bin and took a bunch of stuff and tried to make this bike. And I really agree with that. That's kind of the vibe that I got from that bike. Like, they've lost a lot of what made this bike so special. You know, because if a person who knows nothing about motorcycles, when they see this bike, they know something's up, right? Like, it's a special bike. And, you know, that's, if you're not someone who likes attention, you know, I'm pretty introverted, man. Like, I wish I could own something that looked really cool, but no one cared about, you know? But that's just not really how the world works. And so, really, wherever I take this thing, like, someone wants to look at it, someone wants to see it. And I'm not saying, like, that upsets me, right? Like, that's, and I'm happy to tell anybody who wants to know anything about it. Like, it's a cool bike. So, you know, don't take that as me complaining. But that new one, it just kind of looks like a weird looking black bike. And, you know, that's just kind of an odd miss for BMW, because again, it's kind of their flagship bike. Like, every M bike that I've seen up till this one, when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that's cool. I like that. And this one especially, it was just like, oh my gosh, like, that is so cool. And so it's just kind of lost to me what made it so special. And on top of that, you're getting a lot less for your money. I think a lot of that, you know, I just don't see it. I don't see $40,000 for that motorcycle, 41, 42, whatever. And I wanted the 2025 to blow this one out of the water. Like, I wanted to see that and be like, oh, it's so freaking cool. Like, that's cooler than mine. And that's just not the case, man. And so the S1K was also there too, and I think that thing looks killer. Really cool. And it's to the point that if I owned none of these bikes and I had to pick between the two, like, I would pick that S1K. and I think they nailed that. I think it looks really cool. A question that I did ask was these past few iterations of the S1K, when it gets updated, it's gotten the M wings. And I asked, is the, probably can't give me a firm answer, but is this new wing that's on the M, is that going to end up on the S1K down the road? And he said no, probably not. So S1K boys rejoice. I'm not really a fan of that new wing. I mean, the wings on this bike are absurd. They're silly. Like, you get this thing next to a 24 S1K, it's laughable. It is the meme, I'm sure some of y'all have seen that, where the wings just keep getting bigger and then they eventually just become the whole bike. However, I like how these wings look on this thing. I just like this bike, So, that's neither here nor there, right? Like, that's truly an aesthetic thing, whether you like it or not. But I think that's probably good news for a lot of y'all watching. I'm kind of exploring a little bit while I yak. Do not enter. All right then. No M1Ks allowed. Come on, Ellie. I know when we aren't wanted. In fact, I want to stop and talk about, actually point out some of the differences I saw. So one of the first things I noticed is they got rid of these hatchets, the aero diffusers. Their reasoning is they say it's for the wind. I guess like how the bike's getting pushed side to side. Here's the deal with that. I live in Oklahoma. It's windy here. This bike is so smooth, like I guess I just heard it and I was kind of, it just kind of sounds like BS. I don't know, like they just got rid of them. Maybe on the track, which kind of seems more the direction they're going, but to me it's just one more thing that's not on the bike. On the new one, this is no longer carbon. This is carbon, it's matte carbon. The front fender's still matte carbon. No carbon, no carbon. Carbon, carbon. I added that, but carbon. Heel guards are still carbon. Rear fender's carbon. And tailpiece is still carbon. Other than that, it's a similar bike, right? Man, like I just look at this thing and it really, really does something for me. Like, this is such a special bike to me, And that new one just doesn't stack up in my mind, right? So let me know what you guys think. Am I full of it? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree? Like, I just want to know what the kind of general consensus is about that new M. Is the sky falling? Absolutely not. It's a motorcycle. But I do care, like I just wish that it had really kind of blown my socks off, and it didn't, and that's okay. It's not for me. I probably wouldn't have gotten it anyway because I love this bike so much, and I'm not gonna do all the mods that I've done to this bike and then just turn around and sell it to get the latest and greatest, like that's 5-10 years from now, maybe I'd get something like that, but I won't, because I don't like the new 25. That's just kind of is what it is. And by the way, Ellie here got the full Stage 2 treatment. Velocity stacks, flapper delete, Stage 2 tune, air filter, and I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Got all that. Keep an eye out for a video on that sooner or later. But I wanted to get this one out there while it was all still kind of fresh in my head. Because it was just a letdown, man. Like that new M1K, it just is what it is, and life goes on. So I appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe. I appreciate everybody who's subscribed recently. That's super cool. I'd love to grow the channel. I love interacting with all you guys. So let's just keep it going. See ya.